Malhotra and his team of ISED in India for the invitation and organization of this event. Thank you, everyone, for being here and the opportunity to explain a bit about the Israeli cyber ecosystem. What we will do in this meeting is to understand a bit about cyber and about Israel. Um, and I do hope that now you can see my presentation. My name is Tal Pavel. I'm from Israel. I'm the founder of Marvelous, thank you. I'm the founder of the Institute of Cyber Policy Studies in Israel. Um, and as you can see here, um, in addition to the pardon, there is a typo there for Cyber Policy Studies. I'm the head of Cyber Studies at the Information Systems School at the Tel Aviv Academy College. And I'll speak a bit as an example. Lecturer, researcher, mainly in the field of internet, cyber policies, and my dissertation was about a PhD dissertation was about the internet in the Middle East. I hold PhD in Middle Eastern Studies, BA, MA, and PhD in Middle Eastern Studies. If you have any questions, you can ask during this session, um, either chat or to keep it later on. So we we will divide it into two parts. First of all, the cyberspace, and then the Israeli cyber ecosystem. So let's start with cyberspace. We know and we have the internet. The internet is acronym of interconnected networks, which are nets of networks. And we know that they connect everything, and we know the basic features of the digital life, which are the viral habit of this digital dimension. And another thing is not only the viral and everything is fast and the speed, but another thing that I take from this image is, it's flat medium. The power at the beginning, the early stage of the internet, what it's called Web 1.0, there was the power to the content manager, to the owner of the website. Now, at the current age, what we call it Web 2.0, it's more flat internet, it's more a flat digital life in which we, the end users, the consumers, have a lot of power in our hand. It's much more flat, which means we are content creators using our cellular phones. So this age bring on one hand much more flat internet, and on the other hand a lot of power to our to us the users. It's a free medium in which in most cases, in most of the countries, in most of the applications or the website, we can access without any problem and from different tools and from different cellular phones, PCs, or tablets, which mean we can communicate between ourselves no matter where we are and what type of device we have in our hands. Another thing is that our environment, which is either our private environment or business one, was completely changed because in the past our working table looks like something like this, but nowadays this is our working environment, which means in the process from this one, the analogic one, to this digital one, there were two processes or two main changes. First of all, the digitalization. It's no longer a typewriter, it's no longer a paper, it's keyboard, it's e-reader or whatsoever. And the second thing, and the second process is a connectivity. Because in the past, there was no connection between the book and the typewriter. But nowadays, everything is connected. Everything can speak between themselves, which on one hand bring a lot of opportunities and bring a lot of advantages, but on the other hand, much more threats and risk and disadvantages and security considerations. This brings us to the question, okay, so what is the cyberspace? What it consists of? And if we will see what the cyberspace, what the cyber realm is, in most cases, the answer will be that it's consisted with three different layers. The first one is the physical layer, which means the computer itself, the sensors, the hardware, the motherboard, the keyboard, the mouse, the screen, all the hardware. The second layer is not the physical one, like the hardware, but the logic one, which means communication, applications, operation systems, um, all those technology and all those um, applications that bring life to the physical layer. Okay, because if there is no communication, no network, no applications, no technology of information system, it's only a motherboard, it's only a sensor, it's nothing that we can do with it. And the third layer is us, the users, the end users, the producers, the programmers, the buyers, everything of us, every one of us, okay, the end users. And at the end of the day, this digital life connect not only between computers and endpoints, but also between us, the users. An important aspect is, okay, so what's the connection between the cyberspace and the internet? Because in most cases, the answer will be the internet is the cyberspace. Internet equal to the cyberspace. And at the early beginning, at the early years, and examples mentioned that in dictionaries, official dictionaries, create a correlation according to which internet equal to the cyberspace. And they give example like, I sent email using the cyberspace. What I want to emphasize, since the cyberspace is based upon the physical layer, the logic layer, and the human being layer, at the end of the day, the cyberspace is around us in every aspect, whether there is an internet and whether there is no internet at all. So for me, the internet is only part of the cyberspace. It's not equal to the cyberspace. And I'll give an example. Our car, any modern car, is equipped with several networks, as cellular networks, multimedia networks, and of course an operational network. So in this case, our car is part of the cyberspace and of course can be target to cyber attacks, to hack into our cars, either to the operational technology and to harm the car and us, the users, or to steal information using the information technology. But it doesn't matter whether this car is connected to the internet or not. As long as a car is a computerized device, it's part of the internet. And it's the same regarding it's part of the subspace. Pardon. And for example, air condition or any electric device that someone can hack into is part of the cyberspace and may affect our daily life. So a bit of the cyberspace characteristics. One of the most important things in the cyberspace when it's deal with our activities, whether it's personal activities or organizational or even state one, is how do we handle? It's a completely new domain in which we need to understand and to absorb new way of handle ourselves. One of the things in the cyberspace is deterrence. How do we deter? And according to Oxford Dictionary, deterrence is an action of discouraging an action or event through instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. Now, I invite you all to think about the example of deterrence. How do you deter in the cyberspace in which you don't see your enemy? You don't know who is your enemy. You don't know what he is doing, and we will elaborate it later on. Risk. What is the risk in cyberspace? Is the risk is only physical one? How do we accumulate? How do we estimate? I don't know if you heard about it, but few days ago it was published that 500 million of records were stolen from Facebook. 500 million records of Facebook users were stolen. And this morning in Israel, The same was revealed about LinkedIn. Think about it. 500 million records from LinkedIn were stolen. 2 million of them were published that were exposed and as a promo, and anyone can buy it. And in the case of LinkedIn, it's 500 out of less than 800 million users. So in this case, think about the risk to LinkedIn, the company, that someone managed to compromise and steal almost all their users and their data. It's supposed to be something horrific. And think about not only the risk to the company, to the organization, LinkedIn, but to every one of us, that all our details are now exposed. Okay? So the risk. An important thing also is the punishment. Not only how do we deter, but how do we punish? How do we punish in the subspace? And I give you an example. If North Korea, and it happened, attacked, a cyber attack, the US stock exchange, how do you deter? How do you punish? What will you do in retaliation? Will you, the US, launch a cyber attack against the North Korean stock exchange market? Do they have their stock exchange market in North Korea? Is it connected to the internet? How do you punish in the cyberspace? Okay, and I emphasize those questions because it's a realm that it's not physical one. It's something that is handled in our computerized devices. We do not see. It's not a rocket that launched and we know where it hit and the damage and the perpetrator and how to deter and what is the risk and how to punish. Okay? Those are cyber attacks. And we spoke about deterrence. And another aspect is the correction. You want that the perpetrator to correct his way. You don't want him to do the same thing once again. You don't want this nation state actor to attack you once again. You want to correct his way of activities. And there are two ways. There is specific deterrence, okay, like this fine, which means you can hit him back in a specific and dedicated cyber attack that will emphasize your ability and emphasize your intentions and demonstrate them. And there is also, beside the specific, there is also general deterrence, in which general deterrence can be also by perhaps not physical one, not an active cyber attacks, but it can be by declarations, something much more vague, a general deterrence, general cyber deterrence. There are several pillars of cyber deterrence. The first is that the deterrence should be clear. We need to have clarity of the deterrence, which means the adversary need to know and to receive the exact message what that you want to deliver him. What is the message? What is the deterrence? The message should be very, very clear. It should not be vague, because if it will be vague, the adversary probably will not understand the message, and you want to deliver a message in the deterrence. The second is that the message of the deterrence should be reliable. Okay? Then the adversary must understand that this is a reliable message. A third one is the intention, which means the adversary in the deterrence must understand that it's not empty words. You have the intention. You have the intention and you stand behind it. And the fourth one, the fourth pillar of deterrence, is not only the intention, but another aspect, an important one, is the ability. Because you can have an intention, but if you don't have any ability, okay? So, on the other hand, the intention is important as well, because you can be a nation state actor with an ability, but because of geopolitical decisions, you have no intention. You have no intention. You are a superpower. You have all the cyber capabilities. But I, the adversary, I know that you have no intention to execute. So when you need to create deterrence in the cyberspace, you need that your message will be clear, without any double meaning, reliable, that will reflect the intention, but also the ability against your adversary. Which brings us to new dilemmas in the cyberspace. And the difference between cyber deterrence, and we will see the second shortly. Cyber deterrence is deterrence of cyber attacks, which means deterrence by cyber attacks, to create cyber attacks that will deter your adversary. And I give this image of the statue in Tallinn, Estonia, of the lost Soviet soldier. And I give this image because this statue was in the middle of a cyber conflict between Russia and Estonia. The Estonian wanted to move this statue to another place. The Russian didn't want it. At the end of the day, Russia used the cyberspace to create cyber attacks, to create cyber deterrence, or to create physical deterrence by cyber means. The Russians didn't want the statue in Tallinn, capital of Estonia, to be moved. So they used the cyberspace using cyber attacks to create deterrence that will make the officials in Estonia to avoid this and to cancel this resolution to move the statue. And therefore they use cyber attack. And you can see here the event, the consequences. Okay, um, you can see it all here. Okay, it's a very famous one because it was a, a cyber attack that targeted the main online activity in Estonia. As you can see, the main targets have been the website of the Estonian presidency and its parliament, almost all of the country's government ministries, political parties, three of country's six biggest news organizations, two of the biggest banks and firms specializing in communications. So this is okay. They are targeting websites, not information technology or operational technology, but the targeted websites. But on the other hand, websites of, as you can see, of political representatives, of media outlets, banks, and presidency, parliament, governmental ministries, and institutions, which in this way or another crippled Estonia in order to create deterrence by cyber means, to create physical deterrence by cyber means, by cyber attacks, by cyber attacks. Another thing is not to create deterrence of cyber attacks by cyber attacks, is to create cyber deterrence, which means deterrence by cyber means, not necessarily cyber deterrence by cyber attacks, but to use cyber means. In the previous examples, we saw how Russia created cyber deterrence using also physical deterrence by cyber attacks. In this case, well, it's again Russia. How you create deterrence by cyber means. And in this case, this is underwater, undersea, a fiber cable, internet fiber cables. And you can see here the maps of such cables around the world. And this is a Russian submarine. Why do I bring it? Because of those headlines. As you can see, Russian ships near data cables are too close for US comfort. They did nothing. Those submarine, they just stood there beside those undersea internet fiber cables, like a threat, in order to create deterrence. They did nothing. And as you can see, US fears Russia could sever undersea internet cables. Officials are concerned over increased activity along major fiber optics routes. And in UK as well. Russia, a risk to undersea cables, that the defense chief warns. All of this bring us to what is known as the 5W. And this 5W not only reflect the cyberspace, but it exists in the intelligence activity as well. What are the 5Ws? Well, here you have some of them. First of all is, I'll start with who. Who is my adversary? Who is my opponent? Okay. There was an attack on, I don't know, website on Estonia. Who made it? The second is where he is sitting. He's, is he really in Russia? How can I know it? How can I be assured that this is the opponent, this is the aggressor, and that in this case he's coming from Russia? The second, pardon, the third question is why? Why did he did it? In this case of deterrence, why there is a change? Why now 500,000 records, pardon, 500,000,000 records of LinkedIn were stolen and now being out in the darknet? By the way, the first question, who did it? Who did it? And where? Where is he or they? Those who are behind what was revealed today about the leak from LinkedIn. What? Which means, what he's doing? What is the method? How he's doing it? How did they manage to steal this information? What is the loophole? Where's the breach? And the fifth one is the when. Okay. We know that they published information today that the aggressors, the hackers, managed to compromise and breach 500,000,000 records from LinkedIn. Okay. When was the attack? Yesterday? A week ago? A month ago? Half a year ago? We don't know. So think about a dimension in which there are those 5 questions, 5 Ws, as you can see here. And we have almost no answers for none of them. Think about a physical war. How can you handle yourself in a physical event? Either it's a war or terror activity. If you don't know who is your adversary, who is the aggressor, where he is sitting, why there is a change in his activity, what he is doing now, and when was or will be the attack. How can you create deterrence? How can you punish if you don't know who is your enemy? And once again, if we'll take the leak from Facebook and LinkedIn just that happened just this week, the very basic question, who made it? When? We don't know all this question. Probably we will know nothing about this 5 Ws question, and it's just examples from nowadays, which bring us to the one of the major problem in the cyberspace, which is the attribution problem. The attribution. Once again, to who I can attribute the attack on LinkedIn? To who can I attribute the attack on Facebook. Well, I don't know. Probably it's the same group because they managed to steal 500 million of records from each of these social media networks. But who stands behind it? So the players, in most cases, are in their anonymity. They can be criminals. In most cases, they are criminals in order to gain financial gain from their malicious activities. But they can be terrorists for their terrorist motivation, motivated by terrorist motivations, and of course, nation states, nation state actors, what we know as APTs groups. And there is also hacktivists. Hacktivists, what we know in most cases as anonymous. Anonymous is the most well-known example of hacktivists. Hacktivists are activists, hackers that do not perform the hacking activities nor from terrorist intention nor to have any kind of financial gains. Hacktivists perform their activities in order to receive, as a protest, I'll say, as a protest from political or social. So for the criminal, there is the financial gain. For the terrorist, of course, in order to perform kind of terror activity in the cyber dimension. But for the hacktivist, he will perform his activity or her activity as a protest for social or political purposes. Example for that, we saw in Israel, well, we didn't see it, but it was the day just 2 days ago. And you know that Anonymous, they have OPS, which is acronym for operations, abbreviation of operations. And they have a lot of operations, a lot of ops. One of them is Op Israel. And Op Israel, as can seen here in, in this very early days poster, started on 2013 and it's each April the 7th. So we had it, supposed to have it 2 days ago. And when it started, and this, as you can see, is a poster from the first year, the essence of the attackers, most of them Palestinians, Muslims, those who have something against Israel, um, the narrative was we will create you digital holocaust and we will eradicate you and erase you from the digital map. Um, so this is a poster from the first year. You can see another poster or um, visual from a defaced web page. And as you can see, this hack is dedicated to the Palestinian people, message of the son, okay. Um, Message to the son of monkeys and pigs. It's supposed to be us, the Jews, the Israeli. And with the text in English and in Arabic. And to nowadays, this was Are You Ready of Israel? But this was published by the Israeli telecom company, as you can see here, Basic International Business. It's Basic International. It's the Israeli telecommunication company, and the essence was to create awareness and to explain what may be those cyber attacks against Israel by those activists. At the end of the day, I'll say that over the years, we see a decrease in not only the number of cyber attacks, but also in um, the quality, not only the quantity, but also the quality. So if at the first, the second, perhaps even third year of Op Israel, we saw that the media covered it, and we saw a lot of responsibility claims for cyber attacks against Israel. 2 days ago, we see nothing at all, no responsibility claim, or at least nothing that was published. Now let's move to Israel cyber ecosystem. And here I'll explain to you a bit about Israel and about its cyber ecosystem, its components, the synergy between different part of it, strategy, army, academia, human capital, um, a bit about numbers as well. To understand the essence is to understand what is the Israel cyber ecosystem, why Israel is considered to be the startup nation, and what is the uniqueness of Israel that make it to be not only a startup nation, but also a cyber nation. And I will share with you some thoughts and reflections. So let's start with a bit about Israel's cyber ecosystem. So a bit about Israel. Where is Israel on the map? Okay, where is Israel at all? And how does it look like, the map? So, well, you can see here, um, this is the map of Israel. You can see there in yellow, it's Israel. In well, I don't know if it's light green, light brown, but you can see the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Um, and Israel is this tiny spot in the Middle East. You can see it behind, somewhere between Africa, Middle East, and so this is this tiny spot. Um, and at the map of um, the Middle East, you can see this tiny part in red. Okay, so some data about Israel. And you can see here the map. The West Bank is governed by part of it by Israel, part of it by the Palestinian Authority. Gaza Strip is totally governed by the Palestinian Authority, and in Gaza it's the Hamas. So some basic features about Israel. The population of Israel is less than 10 million, 9.29 million. Um, you can see here the area which is 22,000 square kilometers. The independence is we received our independence from the British mandate in 1948. And by the way, exactly a week from now is Israeli Independence Day. Okay, yesterday was the Holocaust Remember Day, for the Holocaust of in the Second World War, in which during the Nazi Germany killed 6 million Jews during the Second World War. So yesterday it was the Remembrance Day for the Holocaust and the 6 million who were perished. And next week is the Israeli Independence Day from the British Mandate on 1948. And up until now, we had something like 15 wars and military operations from 1948. Wars and military operations. And beside those facts of 15 wars and military operations, let's see what Deloitte write about Israel technology ecosystem. And I bring you, the copy paste because it's important here. Israel is an entrepreneurial powerhouse and a hotbed for pioneering technologies, profitable business opportunity, and high investment returns. For this reason, it is not surprised that the world's leading multinational companies have all choose Israel, with example of Microsoft, Motorola, Google, Apple, with three R&D centers of Apple's in Israel, and Microsoft as well have R&D center in Israel. Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway, Intel, HP, Siemens, General Electric, IBM, Philips, Lucent, America Online, Cisco, Applied Materials, IBM, Johnson and Johnson, EMC, and Toshiba, and just some of the names in a long list of 200 multinational companies who realize that Israel is the ideal investment opportunity. Furthermore, many multinational corporates such as Tata from India, Kodak, Citibank, and many others have established innovation centers in Israel, as can see in here. Okay. And the last thing from this article is that Israel's unique society and culture, strong economy, government support, and global first market approach are just a few of the factors that make Israeli innovation ecosystem one of the most successful in the world. In 2016 alone, Israeli startup raised a record of 4 billions from investors, while high tech and startup companies were sold for 10 billion throughout acquisition or IPOs. Israel is also home for the highest number of engineers per capita and has the world's second highest R&D expenditure as percent of GDP. Which bring us, if I'll summarize it, what's written here in this Deloitte article, to what I call Cyber Nation, cyber synergy. And as mentioned, there is a synergy of academia, government, army, industry, and we will emphasize every one of them. So let's start with the industry. Israel cyber ecosystem, the startup nation. You can see here a map of startups, investors. You can see the legend on your left, accelerators, community, co-working, and research and development centers. And see the numbers: 1,900 startups in Israel, 109 research and development centers, with a population of 9 million, 9.3 million inhabitants. You can see here more clearly the map of startups. Okay, you can see the red, okay, startups 1900. So here you can see only the startups. And of course, we can find few in the north, few in the south, Eilat in this case, a harbor city in the lowest part in Israel, just on the border with Jordan and Egypt. And as long as we arrive to the center, we find much more startups. To the situation in which in Tel Aviv, which is the financial capital and high-tech capital of Israel, you can see the majority of the startups. 1700s out of 1900s of the startups are in Tel Aviv and the suburbia. Another thing is research and development centers in the purple. And you can see them here with exactly the same pattern. There are two in the north, in the region of the Sea of Galilee, as you can see in the right, six in the northern city Haifa, but most of them, 93 out of 109, are in Tel Aviv. This, once again, the financial and technological capital of Israel. By the way, the capital of Israel is Jerusalem, and it's located, pardon, I hope you can see it. Here, okay? Here is Jerusalem, and Tel Aviv is here, okay? By the way, I live quite in the middle in a new city, which with the name Modi'in. This city is totally new. It was built something like less than 25 years ago. And it's quite in the middle between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So when I'm in the junction, okay, at the entrance of the city of Modi'in, if I turn to the right for 30 kilometers, I'll be in Jerusalem. And if I turn to the right for 30 kilometers, I'll be in Tel Aviv. So, just to understand the distance, so the distance here between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, this is something like less than 100 kilometers. Okay, the distance here between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem is less than 100 kilometers. It's 60, 70, 75 kilometers. I can understand how narrow Israel is. And by the way, the distance from north to south, this is something like 500 kilometers. That's it, from north to south. This brings us to a claim in a study less than a year ago, the end of June 2020, that Israeli startup ecosystem ranked number 6 in the world, according to a new report. The study conducted by Startup Genome ranks Tel Aviv and Jerusalem as joint 6th out of 100 global cities. So, with this tiny land of Israel, and with less than 9.3 million inhabitants, less than a year ago, Israel's startup ecosystem was ranked number 6 out of the cities of 150 cities in the world. Let's see a bit about the high tech in Israel, the startup nation. Okay, a bit about numbers. And you can see the number of high-tech companies in Israel and number of investors and hubs and multinational companies. Um, Not related to cyber, high-tech companies in Israel, more than 6,000 high-tech companies in Israel, and more than 350 multinational companies with branches, activities, or research and development activities in Israel. Regarding the industry, and by the way, this is a photo that I choose from the industrial zone in Modi'in, the city where I live. Um, you can see here numbers of industrial parks in Israel, high-tech industry parks. Okay, there are 28 high-tech industrial parks in Israel, and the number of venture capital funds and chamber of commerce. They all bring you it bring kind of an umbrella of to understand what is the startup. First of all, the high-tech environment, and then the startup, what it's called a startup nation. And from there to be a cyber nation, cyber ecosystem. If we will see just several numbers, a few numbers, you will see here percentage of capital raised in the sector 2016 to 2019. And as written above, the header changes in the Israeli high-tech map. And you can see the changes. Something like 450%, the rise in the capital, the growth in capital raised for food tech in Israel, the food tech. So now we see that in 3 years, 2016, 2019, there was a growth of something like 450% in capital raised for the food tech in Israel. But on the other hand, you can see the number of artificial intelligence companies in Israel. And as well, the number regarding e-commerce, communication, fintech, medicine, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. Another aspect we spoke about, the cyber synergy, is not only the industry, but also the involvement of the government. And you can see it here, national spending on research and development as a percentage of the GDP. And you can see that at least in 2017, and at least in this number of something like 20 different states, Israel was ranked number 2, quite behind South Korea and high above the total average of the OECD. So this reflects the national spending on research and development. Another number which reflects another angle in what is startup nation is export of high-tech goods, software, and R&D. And you can see 3 different interesting figures here. The gray line is percentage of high-tech export from total export. And here you can see that in a decade between 2009 to 2019, there is the same number, 45% of high-tech export from total export. So in a decade, 2009 to 2019, the percentage of high-tech high-tech export from the total export was not changed. But on the other hand, you can see the export of software and R&D and compare it to other means. So you can see that there is a growth from 9% to 29% in the share of software and R&D, which means you can export high tech, but it could be high tech for different types of activities and different types of high tech that you export. But we can see a growth, a consistent growth over the years of export of software and R&Ds in Israel. Let's deal now with not Israel as a high-tech nation, as a startup nation, but as a cyber nation. Okay? Some figures and numbers. There are 520 cybersecurity companies in Israel. 520 cybersecurity companies in Israel. You can see the number of 5.5 billion US dollar of only cybersecurity export. And it's from 3 years ago. And 8% of Israel share of the global cyber market is 8%. It's not low. And remember the position of Israel, and please remember how many states are in the world and superpower. So Israel export 8% from the cyber global market. Some more. You can see here 20%, and it's figured from something like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay? 20% of high-tech companies are engaged in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is a domain with a lot of focus in the high-tech industry in Israel. In 2018, 66 new cyber companies were founded. 66 new cyber companies were founded in a year in Israel. And Israel is considered to be one of the top 10 countries best prepared for cyber attack. This also, you can see the numbers of cyber security companies in Israel and its active cyber security companies in Israel. You can see the growth of the number over the years, which in less than a decade tripled itself from something like, almost tripled itself, from something like 162 to 450, 422 in less than a decade. Almost triple itself the number of active, not just cybersecurity companies, but active cybersecurity companies in Israel, almost triple itself in less than a year, in less than a decade, pardon. The investment as well. Israeli cybersecurity equity investment. You can see once again the numbers, the rapid growth in the number of total amount, number of deals. You can see it here in front of your eyes. And funding as well. Here it's 2017 till 2019. You can see the increase in funding, whether it's 20 million to 59 million funding, or the stage of 60 million to 99, or over 100 million funding. And you can see even in the stage of over 100 million, you can see the growth of 150% increase in a year. And the level of 60 million to 99 million, you can see here as well, a year earlier, increase of 250%. If we ask what are the sectors in cybersecurity in which there are startups and companies in Israel, you can see this map, which cover, I think, almost every topic of cybersecurity realm. Cloud and infrastructure security, mobile security, anti-fraud, endpoint security, IoTs, security operations and orchestration, and so, and of course, industrial and operational technology. Wide range of topics for cybersecurity startups and companies in Israel. This is another image which I found today in a relevant Israeli WhatsApp cyber group. And as you can see, it's a totally fresh, with numbers from nowadays. Israeli Tech Snapshot, March 2021. You can see, I won't read the numbers, but you can see numbers of new investors, IPOs, active investors, and numbers, and so on and so forth, and funding the rounds. After we covered financial and investment and funding aspects, now, with your permission, let's move to the human capital and the importance of the human capital for, as part of this synergy that I spoke about, industry, academia, government, army. Let's now deal with the human capital. And I give you a few numbers and examples. In Israel, there are two elite training programs for teenagers. And when I'm speaking about two elite training, two cyber elite training programs for teenagers, for high school students. 26 schools in Israel with certificates in cyber studies. There are 27 cyber learning centers on the socio-economic periphery, which means we saw that most of the startups, 1,700 out of 1,900, are located in Tel Aviv. But see how many cyber education centers are located in the socio-economic periphery, whether it's in the north or it's the south of Israel, in order to create diversity in the human capital. And as can seen here, Israel leads employer demand for cybersecurity talent. And you can see the number compares to several other states. Another aspect of the human capital is the role of the academia. By the way, this is one of the buildings of the Tel Aviv College, Tel Aviv Yafo Academic College, in which I'm teaching, and as mentioned previously, the head of cyber studies. Let's see academic institutions in Israel that teach cyber studies. As I told you, we have at the Tel Aviv Academic College a cyber program. I'm the head of this program. And let's see what's happening in some other academic institution. Well, there are 6 academic research centers, more than 180 cyber researchers, hundreds of graduates, students, hundreds, if not thousands, and 1400 academic technologies. If we will dig into academic institutions and what kind of cyber topics and what do they teach in numbers. And by the way, this is the image of the Council of Higher Education in Israel, which is responsible for the academic institutions in Israel and higher education. So in Israel, we have 9 universities and 20 what it's called other higher education institutions, which are funded institutions. By the way, the Tel Aviv Academic Institution is one of those 20. Okay. 9 universities and 20 educational institutions, higher educational institution, funded by the state. In addition, there are 10 more higher education institutions not funded by the state of Israel. And in addition, 21 academic colleges for education. 21 academic colleges for education. And let's see how many of them teach cyber. I mean, how many of the 9 universities, 20 higher education institutions, another 10 higher education institutions not founded, and 21 academic colleges, how many of them teach cyber actively in Israel? So let's see. When we're dealing with universities, in this way or another, this department or another, 8 out of 9 teach cyber, and it's amazing. In other higher education institution, here only 5 out of 30 other higher education institution teach cyber. And the problem is with academic colleges of education. Here, 0 out of 21 teach, which means currently in the academic life, and it's based upon research that I've made, okay? I've gathered and searched every academic institution. I searched their curriculum and wanted to understand what do they teach in terms of the cyberspace. with emphasize that it's need to be called cyber something, not information security, but cyber something. So almost all the universities, only part of the higher education institution in Israel, which are not universities, and none of the academic colleges of education. And this is a problem because the academic colleges of education, you teach the next generations of educators and those and teachers that will go to schools and high schools. And here, 0 out of 21. So here it's a problem. And if we want to see, okay, in BA degree, in which department in Israel, in which departments, in higher education institution in Israel, colleges, university, in which departments they teach cyber, I realized that the departments in a higher education institution in Israel where they teach cyber are, let's call it, technology oriented. And the names are computer science, electrical and computer engineering, industrial engineering and management, information systems, and software engineering. So teaching cyber in Israel is mainly in the technological oriented departments. When it's related to MA studies, here it's a bit different. Of course, there are less programs for MA in cyber studies, but here we can see as well information systems engineering, computer science. But I found also that one can study aspects of the cyberspace in MA studies under military and security studies with specialization of cyber and strategies, sorry for the typo, and as well as MA in cyber politics and government. So if I will summarize it, if in bachelor degree, I must admit that, okay, um, if in bachelor degree we found that all the cyber studies were in technological department, here in the MA we can see that yes, some of the studies are in technological oriented departments, but also we can see that one can study cyber in the military, security, politics, governance departments. So in MA studies, cyber is related not only to technology, but also to the military and security on one hand and politics and government on the other hand. And this is interesting definition. For example, from outside the Tel Aviv Academic College, the Academic College of Tel Aviv Yafo, the cyber studies at the Information System School, I will give you the example of the courses that we teach. We have cyber terrorism, a course that I'm a lecturer in my course, law and the cyberspace, another course of mine which is the social aspects in the cyberspace, another one of mine which is introduction to information security, which are all of these are these three are during the first year of the studies, Introduction to information security, it's a mandatory course for all the students, whether they are from the cyber department or not. Cyber defense strategy and policy for the second year, information security methodologies and regulations, application security workshops, this for the third year with more technical aspects and hands-on, and of course cryptography and secure coding. So we covered the startup nation, the investment, the involvement of the government. We covered also the role of the human capital and the academia. And now let's move a bit to the role of the army of Israel being as a cyber nation and a startup nation. I don't know if you know this icon, but it's belonged to military units with the number 8200. Unit 8200, it's the central collection unit of the intelligence corps. And the central collection unit of the intelligence corps is responsible for collecting signal intelligence. But in addition, it's play a well-known role in Israel high-tech history. A lot of Israeli startups started from veterans of Unit 8200. Another unit, it's C4I, another Israeli military unit, C4I, the teleprocessing corps, which is responsible for all areas of teleprocessing and communication in the IDF itself. Another hub for startups, most of them cyber, but not only cyber. So both of them, the unit 8200 from the intelligence corps and the C4I from the teleprocessing corps, are two of the main hubs that later on produce a lot of startups, technological and cyber-oriented startups in Israel. I do hope that you know at least some of those examples: Checkpoint, ICQ, Viber, NSO Group, Palo Alto, NICE, Gilad Satellite Networks, CyberArk, Radware. What is common for all of those companies that they were founded by 8,200 former soldiers. Probably you know Checkpoint, ICQ, NICE. They were founded and they were established by former soldiers of this intelligence corps unit. So the importance role of the army. Another important aspect is the strategy. A state needs to have a cyber strategy. And I give you some examples of the strategy, some timeline, 15, 16 years ago, there was a national strategy plan, a development of the Negev, of the southern part of Israel, and to relocate IDF, Israel Defense Forces bases. So 15, 16 years ago, there was a national strategic plan that decided to move Israeli army bases to south, to the southern part of Israel, to the Negev, to the desert. The capital of this area, some kind of capital. It's Beersheba, Beersheba, the name of the city. And the government decided to establish Beersheba as the unique cyber center, to be some kind of the cyber capital of Israel. Not that Tel Aviv, as we saw, will be the financial and technological capital, but to relocate Israel Defense Forces, the Israeli army bases, to the south, to the Negev, to this region called Negev, and to its capital, Beersheba, the city, and to empower the city by soldiers, by bases, by empower the local university to be the main hub of Israel as a cyber power. Some more a point across this timeline, strategic timeline. 6 years ago, Israeli Army Chief of Staff decided to establish an independent cyber branch. Now in Israel, there is a cyber command. There is land, there is air and space, there is marine, there is a cyber command. A year later, um, a National Cyber Defense Authority was established, and 2017, a first publication, a very methodological publication was published under the name Cyber Defense Methodology for an organization. It's kind of a book published by Israel National Cyber Directorate, um, which supposed to give guidance and instructions to organizations how to defend themselves. As you can see here, to give the methodology. And we need as well some major players. Who are the? Let's see some of those major players. There is the Israel Chamber of Information Technology. There is the Ministry of Economy and Industry, the Israel Advanced Technology Industries, and the Israel Innovation Authority. Some more players are the Israel CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, Israel Cyber Innovation Era, the Ben Gurion University in the Negev. You remember that I've told you here about the decision to relocate all the not all the bases, major bases to the Negev, and to make the Beersheba the capital of Israel, the cyber capital, the cyber capital of Israel. And I told you the decision to empower the university, and this is the local university, Ben Gurion University of the Negev, which is now the prominent university regarding cyber in Israel. And of course, the Israel National Cyber Directorate, which once again bring us to what is cyber nation. We saw cyber synergy, which involved the academia, government, army, and industry, and the mobility, the ability of a person to do his military service in relevant, let's call it cyber related position, to study later on the academia, as in our cyber department, and later on to work either in the government or in the industry. So you have here the flow. He start his compulsory military service. He can do it in several cyber or cyber related units. Then go to the academia, and I have students like this. Then they go to the academia and study related materials. And after they finish the BA studies, they go either to the governmental institutions or to the industry. And most of our students work in cyber related companies. So at the end of the day, when we speaking about cyber ecosystem or synergy, as I call it, in Israel, I realize it's a synergy of the involvement. We need the involvement of the government. We need to have financing. We saw that investment, funding. We need to have human capital. We need to have the involvement of the industry, of course, the back of the army with relevant units that will provide later on for the industry and the academia and governmental institution the relevant personnel that they already trained in the military services, the compulsory military services, and nation resilience. Of course, that it should be a technology motivated. A nation should have also relevant infrastructure, because if there is no related infrastructure, how can you have a nation, a cyber nation, or startup nation? Relevant legislation, and we saw relevant strategy, the academia, the importance and the relevance of the academia, and we saw what happened when there is lack of cyber-related programs in educational, a higher education institution that teach the next teachers, entrepreneurship, mobility, we've mentioned that, strategy. And I think that perhaps one of the most important thing is the struggle to survive. Because as I mentioned at the early slide, in 73 years, Israel was involved in 15 wars and military operations. And nowadays, it can be in Gaza or a kind of a cyber war under the uh, under the scene, perhaps with Iran. So there is always kind of this another physical or cyber struggle to survive, that you need to have the relevant technology and the relevant army units, and to create academic departments that will be able to produce the relevant workers and employees and entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for your time. I was here, Tal Pavel, founder and director of the for Cyber Policy Studies. And if you would like to follow us, you have here all the relevant channels. Of course, if you have any questions, remark, please feel free either to send to ask now, or to send questions using emails later on. Thank you so much for your time. I do hope that I was able to expand your knowledge about Israel's cyber ecosystem. There is a question. Do you have any kind of questions? If there is any question, feel free to ask now. Um, if there is no question right now, uh, please feel free to address me in every preferred channel. It can be on WhatsApp, or Telegram, LinkedIn, or just an email. Drop me an email with thoughts, remarks, question whatsoever. If you have any question now, feel free. I'm waiting for your questions. Once again, you can drop me an email with any kind of remark. So I see that um, there is currently no question. So I'd like to thank you, the attendee, for your participants and for your time, and of course, Mr. Rohan Malhotra, and for all the team and the dedicated team of ISERD India and their activities for having this event. Um, Tomorrow there will be a cyber quiz based upon this today webinar and lecture, and you will receive details by the organizers. So we will see. We will meet tomorrow for the second part for the quiz with some questions that are based upon today's today presentation. So um, if there is no question, I would like to thank once again you, all the participants, and Mr. Malhotra and all the team of ISERD India for the organization of this well organized event. Thank you very much, every one of you. Good afternoon, good evening. Take care, stay safe and healthy, and hope to see you in the very next, very next future for next event organized by ISERD and the Institute for Cyber Policy Studies. Thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy. Bye bye.